Sorry, so we're in 2002, starting SpaceX, moved down to LA, and it was pretty fun in the beginning. Like generally, startups are pretty fun in the beginning, and then you go through the chasm of doom.
Chasm of doom.
Yeah.
Trough of sorrow.
Trough of sorrow, exactly. It's rough.
Despair.
Yeah, it's usually always like everyone's like super optimistic and excited for first year or so, and then things start to go awry, and there's usually many years of grief before this finally day dawns. So yeah, so it's like 2002, and then about 2003 is when Rosen and JB Strawell called me up and said, "Hey, we want to have lunch." I want to say Harold Rosen, I think that's his name. But he weirdly had he was a pioneer in space technology and electric vehicles, which are a crossover. And he'd done something called Rosen Motors, which was like sort of an electric vehicle company, and but he'd also been pioneer in geostationary satellites. So he called me up and said, "Hey, let's have lunch." So we had like lunch at like Smith and Wollensky or something in El Segundo, where SpaceX started, and so Straubel and Rosen were talking about space stuff, and then started talking about electric cars, and I said, "Oh yeah, so I was going to be working on electric car technology at Stanford," and then JB said, we should take a drive in the T0 from AC Propulsion, and I was like, yeah, because the timing is like lithium-ion batteries was really like the critical breakthrough needed for compelling electric cars, and so it's like, okay, I'll go try out their T0, which had specs similar to what we eventually brought to market as Tesla Roadster. So then, so I got a ride in the T0, and then I tried to convince Al Cacconi and Tom Gage to commercialize the T0. Now the T0, and there's like lots of stuff online about it. It didn't have doors or a roof, so like clearly you need to add those things, or any safety systems, and it was very unreliable because it was just like sort of a proof of concept basically.
I heard it was basically like hand assembled. You guys really had trouble scaling it.
No, it literally didn't have doors or a roof, or any airbags, or an effective cooling system for the battery, and it was not safe, and it was very unreliable. Break down. It needed to be babied by an engineer, or you can use it. So, but nonetheless, it did get like 0 to 60, I think under 4 seconds, 250-mile range.
It was enough to convince you that it was possible.
I knew it was possible because if you go from the energy density of lead acid to lithium ion, you've got about a 4x energy density improvement. So if you've got say a 60-mile range with lead acid, you're going to have about a 250-mile range with lithium ion for the same weight. But it was cool to see it in action with AC propulsion. And I tried hard to convince those guys. Like I really pestered them a lot to go into to commercialize the T0, and they just did not want to do it. Weirdly, the thing they wanted to make was an electric Scion. And I'm like, you guys, nobody's gonna pay $70,000 for an electric Scion, okay? That was their idea, $70,000 for an electric Scion. I'm like, this is not gonna work, okay? You will sell like 14 of these things, you know, and I'm like, I kid you not, I have like email trails of these, I mean, I think they're still around, so, in fact, but I even say, listen, even though I think this is the dumbest idea ever, I will fund 1/10 of it. If you can find 9 other people, and then I think the only other person they could find who would do it was Sergey Brin. And so it's like, okay, Sergey and I are the only ones willing to do this, I think, and so they didn't actually get it off the ground. But and I said it's gonna fail. I can't. But at least it's something. And so then eventually I said, kind of like, listen, if you guys are not going to commercialize the T0, do you mind if I do it? And they're like, no, yeah, that'll be totally fine. Like, okay. So then it's like, okay, so I'm gonna go do this with JV, and we'll go create a commercial version of the T0, and then Gage and Cocconi said, well, you know, there's some other people who also want to do it. Do you want to maybe team up with them? He said there were 2 other groups that wanted to do it, and I was like, okay, sure, you know, maybe this is a way that I can have my cake and eat it too, you know. Famous last word.
Never works out.
God damn, try and have your cake and eat it too, doesn't it?
This one's gonna be easy.
No, I mean, well, I didn't think it would be easy, but it was like, I thought maybe I can allocate like 20 to 30 hours a week and just work on product engineering, and then other people can do that stuff. I don't even like doing that stuff anyway. So, that just didn't work out. So, then Tom Gage said, he said there were 2 teams, but I only ever met one, and that was Everhard, Topping, and Wright. But like the thing that is really bugs me about them is like they Everhard in particular, the worst guy I've ever worked with, and I want to make a note of this. He is literally the worst person I've ever worked with, and I've worked with some real douchebags. Okay. To be number 1 takes a lot. It's not easy. His version of the story is like is that out of the blue he pitched me on funding his electric car company, and he convinced me to do it. Totally false. Okay, I was like, I'm creating an electric car company. It's like, then Gage said, well, maybe you could team up. And it's like, okay, well, maybe that might be worth doing. And so the company ended up being basically 5 people. This is Wright, Topping, Everhard, Strabel, and myself, and so it was the 5 of us. And like Topping always tries to write out of the history books because they had a huge battle and they made me choose which one was going to be CEO. And it's Wright or Everhard, and I talked to JB and I was like, which one? Because I really did not want to be CEO. So then they're like, okay, well, both have issues, but maybe Wright has bigger issues than Topping. That's what JB said. So maybe, less Revivals. I was like, okay, fine. I got to make a choice here because the 2 of them they refused to be in the same building. So it was like a lot of drama. But Tesla has so much drama, and I was like, okay, it's not like I said like, lesser of 2 evils. So it's like I said, you're right, sorry, not that I didn't think he had good points, but if I gotta pick one, I was trying not to be CEO, I gotta make this rocket company work. So so then made it was like it's like I had to leave then. Anyway, so we got basically we jammed AC propulsion, powertrain, and battery pack into a Lotus Elise. With the first prototyping, like really just jammed it in, you know, and in retrospect, this was not a good idea, because the car ended up weighing like 60% more than an Elise or on that order.